What I believe, sir, is that good things come to those who work their asses off, and that people such as yourself who reached the top of the mountain didn't just fall there. My motto is, if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket.
Nightcrawler, the character of Louis Bloom and Jake Gyllenhaal's acting behind it makes it one of my favorite characters on TV. With a budget of only $8 million, it managed to be one of the greatest and most terrifying movies ever made. Here are 40 facts you didn't know about Nightcrawler. Number 1. The movie Jake Gyllenhaal is watching on his TV where the knight's helmet is cut off is the 1955 movie The Courtjester featuring Danny Kaye. Number 2. When Rick meets Lou for his first job interview, they sit in a diner. This diner was also used in a meeting in the 2011 movie Drive, where the love interest works. Also, I'm Ryan Gosling. Number 3. During the scene where Lou screamed at himself in the mirror, Gyllenhaal got so into the scene that the mirror broke, cutting his hand. He was driven to the hospital by the director after a 19-hour day of working and got 46 stitches in a 4-hour-long operation. He returned to the set 6 hours after being discharged. This is the reason why Gyllenhaal had his hand behind his back in the scene where he tells the scrapyard owner his motto.
My motto is, if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket.
Number 4. Apparently Riz Ahmed, who plays Rick, was unfamiliar with Bed Bath & Beyond and pronounced it oddly at the red light stop. Someone corrected him and every take they did after that wasn't nearly as good, so they just stuck with the first take.
Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh, that's a good story.
Number 5. Jake Gyllenhaal lost 20 to 30 pounds or 10 to 15 kilograms to pull off the look of Louis Bloom, opting to give him the look of a hungry coyote. This was Gyllenhaal's own idea. He worked out for up to 8 hours a day and ran or cycled to the set every day. Number 6. The plant that Lou waters in the apartment was originally a dog in the script. Both were meant solely to keep Lou from being too unlikable, but they switched it as the dog was a nightmare on set. Number 7. Jake Gyllenhaal did most of his own driving scenes, including the climactic car chase at the end. Number 8. Jake Gyllenhaal and Riz Ahmed rode along actual Nightcrawlers in Los Angeles to prepare for their roles. They were the Ragebrook brothers who make a small cameo when Lewis arrives to the structure fire too late near the beginning of the film. They're the 2 last ones to leave the scene. They would later go on and make a feature in the Netflix series Shot in the Dark from 2017. Number 9. During production, Riz Ahmed and Jake Gyllenhaal would go without sleep and binge junk food to help stay in character. During one of these all-nighters, Riz introduced Jake to Angel Delight, a classic British dessert. Jake enjoyed it so much he requested it to be added to the options provided by the catering. Number 10. Jake Gyllenhaal's character introduces himself to detectives as Lou. Earlier in the movie, he corrects his assistant for calling him Lou and says it's Louis. He uses Lou with detectives to seem laid back and approachable, and Louis with his assistant to appear more powerful.
I'm Louis Bloom.
Oh, hey, Lou.
Louis.
Number 11. Bill Paxton gained a ton of weight for his role and grew a mustache. He figured someone in that line of work would be spending the daytime hours sleeping and getting his equipment in order for the next night. He wouldn't have time for exercise or eating a healthy diet. It worked. In his first scene, it was only his highly distinctive voice that allowed moviegoers to recognize him. Number 12. Riz Ahmed is British, playing a Los Angeles native. Number 13. Several actors auditioned for the character of Rick, but while most played him as a laid-back, pot-smoking surfer dude, Dan loved how Riz's audition played him far sadder. Number 14. Despite receiving nominations for Best Actor at many events, Jake Gyllenhaal failed to receive an Academy Award nomination. A lot of people, including me, consider this a major snub. 15. The music cues in the movie represent the music cues in Louis' head. The soundtrack was written to be upbeat and optimistic, especially at some of the film's darkest moments. This is to reflect the movie being from the perspective of Louis Bloom. Number 16. Dan Gilroy's note to Jake Gyllenhaal for the scene where Louis reveals his grand career plan to Nina was to do it like he was proposing to her. Number 17. During Dan Gilroy's first meeting with Jake Gyllenhaal, he asked how he saw the character. He said, "I see it as a success story." They both started laughing as they agreed 100%. They both loved the idea of eliminating any of the classic moral labels that would typically define a character. Number 18. Editor John Gilroy points out that the character of Louis Bloom is a lead with no backstory. He said, "I've never been involved in anything where the character came from nowhere." Number 19. The film's climax was filmed on Laurel Canyon Boulevard in San Fernando Valley, only several blocks away from the location of the infamous shootout in 1997 between two heavily armed bank robbers and LA police, in which both robbers were killed. They managed to close down 10 blocks of the road for a few nights to capture the police chase. Number 20. The film is based partially on the career of Arthur Felling, the first photojournalist who was well known for reaching crime scenes quickly by turning on police radio broadcasts. He was a crime reporter in the 1930s. Dan Gilroy got the idea in 1988 after reading the photo book Naked City, a collection of Felling's photographs. He paused the idea after the release of Joe Pesci's The Public Eye. When he moved to LA afterward, he learned about the present-day Nightcrawlers, which became the basis for the story. Dan knew he wanted to direct the film after writing, and as it would be his directorial debut, he turned to his brother, Tony, for help. He sent the script to Tony, who thought Dan wanted him to direct, and Tony reluctantly began convincing himself to do so, as he was on a break from filmmaking. But a call to Dan cleared up the confusion, and Tony happily supported his brother move into directing. 21. After the scene in which Lou shows the newsroom his horror house footage, the broadcast director cuts to break on a Bird's Eye food commercial featuring wolves. The movie follows this theme of predatory animals in its depiction of Lou, and the commercial ends with the slogan, "Dinner is complete," as the horror house story is Lou's big break into the world of stringer journalism. 22. It was Tony Gilroy's suggestion to have Rick point out while following the killers in the SUV, because Louis's car is red and therefore not great for following so closely. Number 23. Cinematographer Robert Elswit is Jake Gyllenhaal's godfather. This isn't how he landed the gig, it's just a coincidence. Director Dan Gilroy had already met Elswit when he did some script work for The Bourne Legacy. The two began a creative partnership and started writing up a shot list for Nightcrawler months before it went into production. The shot of Lou sitting at the news anchor's desk shown on the studio camera's monitor was one of Elswit's own suggestions. Number 24. The scene where Lou and Nina negotiate terms in the restaurant so Rene Russo skipped lunch to make herself appear more uncomfortable. It actually worked because it put them more on edge. Number 25. The term burn is the amount over budget you spend in a day. And they had 40k burn the night they filmed the Mexican restaurant scene between Lou and Nina, as the pair was doing such a great job they just kept going. Number 26. At the end of the restaurant scene, Lou talks about taking Nina to a Mexican restaurant as part of their agreement.
Cabanita has been called an authentic taste of Mexico City. Do you want to go with me? I think we could have fun together.
The exchange is echoed by Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo's next project together, 2019's Velvet Buzzsaw. Russo's character suggests they meet at a Mexican restaurant after Gyllenhaal's character questions her on where to publish a story. Number 27. Rene Russo came into the role of Nina on her own, unaware that Gilroy actually wrote the part specifically for her. Gilroy felt that the role could easily turn into a one-dimensional cliché and that Russo would be able to bring real humanity and vulnerability to the character. Number 28. Editor John Gilroy's biggest challenge was paring down the chase sequence. Number 29. At the beginning of the film, Lou is trying to convince a security guard to sell him stolen goods. When the guard refuses, Lou beats him unconscious and steals the items, including the guard's watch. By the end of the film, Lou wears the stolen watch. Number 30. When Lou first meets Rick and asks if he has a phone, Rick shows him an old Nokia phone. When he does, the audience can hear the sound of the deep note playing faintly in the background from the original trailer.
You have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Does it have GPS?
Yeah.
Congratulations, you're hired.
Okay.
31. The film was shot over 28 nights. Number 32. The red car Jake Gyllenhaal drives in the second half of the film is a 2014 Dodge Challenger. In the beginning of the film, he starts off driving a Toyota Tercel. Number 33. When Rick is filling up Lou's car with gas, a poster for the Tom Hanks film Captain Phillips is visible in the background. Number 34. Although a sexual relationship is hinted to in a couple of conversations between Louis and Nina, the two actors actually never make any physical contact with each other aside from shaking hands. Number 35. They filmed the early newsroom scenes at Los Angeles KTLA studios. They said they were going to kick us out if a big story broke. Number 36. Dan Gilroyd considered a backstory that would help explain how Lou became the moral and damaged survivor he was in the film. However, he ultimately cut the entire idea from his script because he didn't want to either spend a lot of time on Lou's origin or make him very sympathetic. Also made it more unsettling for Lou not to have any backstory, making his past completely unknown. Number 37. Dan Gilroy, the director of the film, is married to Rennie Russo, who plays Nina. Number 38. Dan Gilroy had been writing movies for decades before he tried his hand at directing one. Nightcrawler was his first movie and it became one of the best movies of the decade, using the visual language of neo-noir to bring out the dark, disturbing world of stringers to the big screen. Number 39. The producers used experimental viral marketing techniques on social media to promote the film, including creating a fictional video resume for Louis Bloom and posting it on Craigslist, as well as creating several fake social media profiles for the character.
My motto is, if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket!
Number 40. Lou was initially conceived as more of a traditional hero. Dan Gilroy decided to flip the script and created an anti-hero who would essentially be a sociopath and defy the rules of movie protagonists. Yeah, that's it. One of my favorite movies. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so would appreciate a sub. Thanks for watching and see ya. Extra fun fact. If you subscribe to me, I will hand deliver the cutest, most adorable kitten you've ever seen.